on now. Hello, hello. Can you hear me? Yes? I hope you can. Anybody with me? All right. I am here and I am 5 minutes late because of the things. So let me make sure y'all know I'm here. Okay. Okay, I shared a post. I'm sorry if I'm keeping anybody waiting at all. Hello and good morning. I saw that Andrew joined me, but I don't see a face. That's cool. So, this morning we have gathered here today so I can tell you all about how to happy holistically. Now, the fun thing about this is that the instructions don't change. They personalize, they adapt. And if I can get someone to tell me you can hear me okay, that would be rad. But see, how to happy doesn't change so much as how you personalize it for you does. There's a lot of stuff we can discuss, and I'm going to keep coming back every week and discussing with you whatever seems relevant. I've discovered an interesting side effect of deciding something is relevant, though. Apparently, when I set the subject for these classes, I am also deciding what I am. Did I admit all? Why am I having to admit people? I shouldn't have to admit people. That's disturbing. I am so sorry if I kept anyone waiting. I don't know why I'm having to admit people at all. It's very confusing. Let me see if I can adjust my settings while people get settled in. Meeting settings. You may turn off the waiting room. There we go. I hear a baby.
Yes, you hear my baby.
Hello.
Hi, Beth.
Hi. I'm so excited to meet with everybody, but I live with kids, so I'm going to ask you very politely to mute unless you have something worth, like you want to say. And if you have something you want to say, I don't care what the background noise is.
Okay.
Does that
Would you
sound
like
cool?
to meet her first?
I would love to. Let me see this little thing.
You've seen plenty of pictures.
I see Beth.
Can you say hi?
Baby, hi, sweetheart. It's so nice to see you, little thing. You are just squishy, aren't you? Yes, my baby's for squishy. Yes. You're so cute. I love it.
Everybody keeps saying she looks like a Precious Moments doll.
She does indeed. She looks a lot like one. She should have a shepherd's crook or something, probably.
All right, I gotta put you down, okay? I gotta put you down.
Oh, and she loves one. She is baby. Hello, beautiful thing. It's so nice to actually meet you. Hi. All right. And hi, Andrew. I saw that you just joined. I wanted to apologize to you both. I don't know why it had you in waiting or limbo or whatever at first, but I changed that setting, I hope. So hopefully it's done putting people in the phone. So I was actually just about to say that when I set up these meetings for every week, I was excited because the subject matter doesn't change much, right? It doesn't. And I can go through a different topic each week and we can discuss food and exercise and relationships and adventuring and also our day-to-day grind and all these different things. I'll never run out of topics. It's amazing. And then last week when I set the topic for this meeting, I discovered something really quite funny. Apparently, I could teach this week's class based entirely off of a Dear Diary format from the last 7 days. When I set up this class, I decided I was going to cover time management, and I forget the other thing I said, and basically arranging within your own life how to find peace. And actually, this is for me. Just double check. I'll go ahead and read y'all the sentence. We are going to talk through time management and controlling our attention, whether we are working on e-learning with our kids, trying to maintain familial relationships through new quarantine restrictions, or balancing a job against our home life. We're all struggling with this. We're going to work together as a group to support each other and aim for improving our individual experiences together. There is nothing wrong with what I just said there. But that is what I was run through the paces of this last week. So hey, y'all, apparently we're on the same curriculum. I'm just a week ahead. I'm tired. I forgot that time management is not the funnest thing to relearn. So, Dear Diary, a week ago today, I came out and I set up a meeting, or I came out to the meeting I had literally just set up and tried to introduce myself to a few people, get a feel for the technology involved, get a feel for how it worked, figure out if I could record the session and reshare it. I don't know. I'm finding out. Since then, I have made contacts for jobs. I have worked on coordinating a few things. I got to go out of state for a birthday party. Yes. I got to try and apply for a bunch of jobs, deal with some serious physical issues, and balance that all against, yes, e-learning and the kids, among other things. It was wonderful. It was exciting. And now I am exhausted because in order to be well, time management needs to come first. When you build your life, when we build our lives, first off, we're never told that we're building. I find this exhausting, honestly. I am fiddling. Oh no, I lost Andrew. Andrew, I was hoping you'd stay. I hope you come back. As we build our lives, like I said, we don't know that we're building. We don't know what we're building either. That's the funnest part. We're like, oh, okay, that's this weird Lego piece. I'm sure it fits in here somewhere. And that's how a lot of our scheduling is. That's how a lot of our friendships fit together. I don't know who this new friend will get along with, but let's invite him to a gathering and see what happens. We work as a team with ourselves, where one aspect of our personality is making contacts and reaching out to people and thinking about conversation and maybe planning ahead a little bit. That's not bad. I'm just going to that a little bit. So I'm not talking towards where people are sleeping in the house, sorry. This is my blanket. I am cold. But then the other side of us, remember I said we're a team with ourselves, the other side of us is kind of going through it and responding to whatever the stimuli are. So this one side of us is trying to steer this ship that we have no idea how actually big our lives are. And we're trying to get in the right direction, while the other aspect of ourselves is running around, making sure we have enough water, and the ropes are tight, and we're going in the right direction. But we don't know what the direction is supposed to be. That's cool, you know? And we're responding as much as we are causing at any given point in time. And most of us really do feel like we're almost more than one person trying to balance this all out. Time management is this weird game where you try to predict where the ship is going to need to go next. And you try to make sure you have enough time for whatever's going to come up as you're planning this out, even though you're not sure. It's where you try to get your whole team, both parts of you, onto the same page, comparing notes. Here's what I need. Here's what I need. Oh, crap, I don't know how to do both. Oh, well, what if we get some coffee, sit down and talk for a while? Yeah. But you have to invite all of you to the table to really work this out, or else it doesn't make sense. Okay. Let's continue. It goes deeper than this. Because as you try to predict these things, Elizabeth Ford, beautiful woman, you are a mom. You are juggling 2 children and a husband and pets and life. You and I have compared notes enough times. I know you are unable to predict all that life is going to throw at you. And as you're looking for a job, trying to predict what a job is going to throw at you, it's even more exciting. Yay! And we can freak out about all of that and hide under our beds. And let's be honest, at least once a week, most of us do. But if you start working on controlling your attention, you can start getting those 2 sides of you, the hi, I'm steering this ship in this direction, and hi, I'm reacting to all the stimuli. You can start getting your captain and your first mate on the same page. So, controlling your attention. Are you acting or are you reacting? Nobody likes to hear that question because that means we have to go through and try and figure out the answer to it. And ew, when I'm acting, I am taking the lead, I'm talking with people, I'm pondering, I'm working out. When I am reacting, I am running around gathering the water, tightening the ropes, making sure all the sails are taut in the breeze. Oh crap, I have to re-aim. And for those who sail, that actually makes some sense. For those who don't, I'm sorry if that's a horrible analogy. Hopefully you picked it together, pieced it together. Controlling your attention takes you out of the seat of reacting as much. It means that right now, while I'm meeting with you, I've closed drying on the line over there. I already checked them. They're still damp. But I don't need to go check them during my class with you guys because I already did. And I want to give you my full undivided attention. It means that I'm talking with you outside of my house. And I am choosing to not aim my voice at my bedroom where I know my sweetheart is still asleep. So yeah, I'm reacting to the fact that he's still asleep, but more than that, I am acting to avoid waking him instead of waiting until he's awake. I have already made sure that I have nothing to worry about until I finish up this class and I have to start regrouping and I have half an hour to kind of do that. I'm acting and giving myself windows of time to then react to anything that comes up in between. Not all of us have that luxury. But I'm the one scheduling my life right now, and I was able to build that in. That feels good. It looks good. Heck, some mornings it even tastes good. Look at me, I can do all of the things. You can't do it all the time. But when you're controlling your attention, you can go, okay, I'm starting to feel my anxiety peak. Why am I starting to feel my anxiety peak? Because I feel a little bit out of control right now. Cool. Why do I feel a little bit out of control right now? You're hearing this. It becomes a kind of conversation. Well, I misplaced my vape earlier, and I just realized I haven't had nicotine for an hour and a half. Oh, that's probably part of why my anxiety is peaking. Let's get the vape and see if it gets better. But in the meantime, let's not look at it as the emotional noise that it feels like. Let's go ahead and change the attention to pay attention to positive things. Oh shoot, the baby or child or spouse is crying. Oh, I should go give them my full attention. Okay, but my anxiety is spiking. All right, I'm going to get my favorite comfort food, coffee, and I'm going to bring that with me so that when I'm in there, I can be doing something to soothe me while I'm giving my attention to the person who needs it right now. I'm not neglecting my needs. I have my vape that makes me feel better and my coffee which makes me feel better so that I can walk in feeling like I'm being comforted and still comfort somebody else. More than that though. I know you guys are all going to identify with this. We all do this. We don't like to admit it. You're in the grocery store. You are in the grocery store trying to get the shopping list figured out. You remember that thing you didn't write on the list, or maybe you don't write a list, like me, because you're crazy. But you're going through the shopping list, and you know there's something you forgot. And you know there's a birthday party that you need a present for, and you know you don't want to buy that at the grocery store. And you're pretty sure you forgot the oil change, but that's not what you're supposed to be reading off that list or writing into that list right now. And then, of course, the phone rings. Of course the phone rings. You have two choices. I'm watching you burst out laughing, Elizabeth. I know that's once a week for you. Like, me too. I feel you on a spiritual level. When that phone rings, you have like 50 choices, let's be honest. But let's go ahead and break it down to at least two simple choices. One. Fuck, I was thinking. I don't want to right now. And you go into a react mode. The child is there. Or maybe the child isn't there. Maybe you're worried about the child. Who cares? That phone call has just turned into the pot that is over your head that someone is banging. Or maybe it's the distraction, get your mind off of how much you're screaming on the inside that you're not going to resolve anything. Okay. Either way, clang, 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 clang is how it feels inside of one's head. We all know this. It's cool. Or let's go ahead and take the other synthetic second option. We're going to make this option up as only one of two, but like I said before, there's 50. The second option, I prefer. Synchronicity is a concept that some of us are really familiar with and some of us struggle with. In any given moment, you are the center of your world, and your world is designed to help you. This assumption is amazing if you can live by it, because the world will live up to your expectations. You think the world sucks, you're going to get sucked. You are stressed out about all the things that might happen, the brain weasels in your head of this might happen and that might happen, it attracts the possibilities to your world. Anyone who believes in magic views believes in the law of attraction to some extent. We forget that the brain weasels that we don't exterminate in our own head are energy, and they attract things to us. No one likes to say it out loud. I'm really sorry to deliver that news. It's true. So then, if you have that concept of synchronicity on your page, written right at the top, everything that comes underneath of it is now related in some way. somehow the world is interacting with you on a personal level at any given point in time. So if your phone is ringing while you're in the store, while you're on overload, and you can't remember that one thing, and you can't get your brain organized, you look at the phone. Remember I said you have two choices? One, you assume this is unrelated. That's what that clanging pan over your head ultimately is. That's you assuming this thing is unrelated to what you're going through right now. It is a distraction. It is an off-topic mess of the situation or addition. Okay, or let's take the synchronicity approach. This phone call came in right when I was overwhelmed from someone who may or may not be related, who might be able to help me right now. Remember how I said there's two different approaches? It's the attitude that's different between the one and the other. As soon as you take that synchronicity approach, you look at your phone and you go, oh, maybe they can help. Answer the phone call. Hi there, how are you? Oh, me? I'm lost in the grocery store. I cannot find what I want because I can't remember what I want. Almost without fail, they're going to sit there and go, oh my God, that happened to me last week. Can I help? Because everybody has a story about being in the grocery store. And just, I have more times than I can count taken that phone call, explained what was going on. Yes, I was totally distracted for 5 minutes, but I needed to be. And in the meantime, they helped me come up with what I was missing, or they helped me come up with something I didn't know I was missing that was actually more important. Or they added something to the list. Or maybe they just helped me figure out my destination afterwards. It almost always reduces the amount of chaos if you assume that the call itself is not chaos. Assuming that there is logic and meaning to the universe helps bring that to yourself. It's not fair. We should not have to every morning decide that there's meaning in the universe in order for things to feel like they're going our way. That is stupid and unpleasant. But if you're using that concept alongside time management, you're like, Friday, I know there's a lot of stuff going on Friday, but why do I feel like there's something at 2? I keep thinking there's something at 2. There's nothing at 2. And then at 2 o'clock, you end up with a really big, important meeting that you needed to have with the teacher or the boss or or maybe that's just the break you really needed because you kept it clear, because you kept thinking there was something at 2. If you take time management straight up without synchronicity factored in, it doesn't contribute to your happiness. It just reduces your unhappiness. It honestly doesn't feel magnificent. It doesn't steer you in a great direction. It doesn't do a whole lot of things. But if you factor synchronicity in, the world is happening this way right now for a reason. What could the reason be? Which then turns into a guessing game where we all end up honestly driving ourselves a little bit crazy trying to figure it out. But meaning. We're looking for meaning. Most of that comes after the fact, not during, and not before. So this is a trial and error, ongoing kind of thing. You can change your time management over time. What is that? It's so weird. I know I sound like I'm making fun of myself, but really, the people who preach about time management as a concept, who stand up on stage and they're wearing an official badge or maybe a lanyard and they're looking very appropriate, those same people make it sound like once you've set your schedule, you hold to it. I'm so proud of myself. I just really nailed that go get 'em cowboy pose that they always seem to have. We don't want an inflexible time. They're an inflexible schedule. Life does not happen on an inflexible schedule. And there's a lot of us who get offended or bothered by that. I'm not one of them. Life is, so love the one you got. And yes, I'm quoting Sublime, credit where it's due. As we are going through each of our lives, we all know that some of the most amazing things in life just happen to us when we're not looking. Elizabeth, God bless you. You are a prime example of this. Like, some of the most amazing things in life happen when you aren't expecting. If we are working on our schedule, we'll feel inconvenienced by these things that are added or adjusted or whatnot. And Michelle Parsons, if you get a chance to watch this later, you are in my thoughts as I am saying this. Because if you build in the flexibility for it, to allow the synchronicity, to allow the things to change as your priorities do, in my experience, you get better about predicting. And this is funny because it's not stuff you would expect. I feel like this weekend is going to be busy, but I had nothing written down. Because you're looking and you're checking, but you feel like this weekend's going to be busy. So earlier on in the week, if you're looking at your, for some reason, blank schedule, you might be checking in with relatives. You might be double checking your Facebook events. You might be working really hard to figure out why this weekend feels busy. If you're not working on the time management, you might not at all. So finding out that your best friend who's moving and your sister's bat mitzvah or your uncle's big gathering that he was going to do for his umpteenth birthday. Or maybe it's just that you got this really cool job opportunity where you can go to an event and run the cameras for it or something, and they'll pay you real money. All these things you're going to piece together when you realize there's a space, there's a vacuum where you weren't expecting there to be one. It's predictive. And I love it. I love it when that comes up because I will feel something coming or it will seem like there's something coming and I'll be able to work that in even though it hasn't happened yet, even though there's no way I would have known. Because synchronicity is kind of a flux and flow. Let's talk a little bit more about this, okay? You feel life. I'm going to try and cover a really complex concept, and Elizabeth, feel free to let me know if this sounds really obtuse or if you're following. Like, and hi, baby. I see you waving. As we are working on everything in day-to-day life, we often look at time as a linear function. Probably not where y'all thought I was going. Actually, you see this fence right behind me? We're going to use that. I am the bump on that fence. And as we are going through life, we expect all of this to just be a form and a function. But we forget that some of our shape in life has nothing to do with our feeling. We are planning around that. And our feelings, theoretically, can respond to this thing that happened before us and this thing that happened after us before we've done both. Like I said, this might come out a little obtuse, so I'll use different words. Our brains only have so much space in them. And we go through life gathering experiences over time. Neurologists have studied the human brain, fascinated by it, but one of the most fascinating things that people have been trying to understand for centuries, if not millennia, is not what do we remember, but how do we remember it? Where do we write it in here? Because we're collecting years of experiences every minute that we've never experienced before, you know? And that's poor wording, but y'all know what I mean. Every minute we're gaining, or maybe it's not, because every minute we're gaining news updates and word from the family and new experiences with the kids that we never want to forget. And that amazing trip with our best friend. And these things, they include rooms, they include lifetimes of experience in every second. And we're storing them all in here. Remember, the question is not what do we remember, but how, where do we remember it? Our brains don't get any bigger. Over time, they just don't. Neurologists are really confused by this because if we're building new memory, we should be getting new neurons. No, it's all about pathways. But wait a second, even the pathways, we're still creating new memories that should involve new pathways. Our brain should get more complex. But when an 89-year-old man dies with perfect memory recall, and we compare his brain against an 8 or 9-year-old with poor memory, there's no difference in the shape of their brain. And in fact, once the brain is fully grown, there's no shape difference in the size either. Whether we're referring to someone who's got a little bit of time that they've already experienced and a ton they haven't seen yet, or someone who's mostly towards the end and they've got everything in their rearview mirror. This hasn't changed. The brain works in a correlative index. It creates new pathways between existing concepts that were built as a child. But even as we're building those concepts as a child, again, the brain doesn't get bigger based on how many memories you've had. You can, and I hate that I can say people have studied this, but there are kids who have had very little external stimuli until they're 12 or 14. Their brains are just as big. They just aren't as in use. Okay.
So I have a question really quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
So my daughter, I've told you so much about her and everything that's going on with all of her medical issues. Well, she was just diagnosed with encephalopathy. Big word, not that big of a deal. Basically, it says that you're going down a highway and you're going to hit a detour. So you're still going to get where you want to go, but it's going to take longer to get there. Whereas my son, who has perfect, what the neurologists call a perfect brain, but he still gets confused and he's got dyspraxia. So there's completely different issues, but they're still going to work the same way because the issues, while completely different, are still connected.
Yeah. Okay. Question?
Yeah.
Yes, I understand what you're saying, but there was a question in there and I didn't quite understand what it was.
Okay, so when it comes to my daughter's encephalopathy and my son's dyspraxia, you made the comment that it doesn't matter what size brain it is, what kind of stimulation it has. My son has had different stimulations than my daughter. The question is, with my daughter, since she's got so many different issues, would that mean that she will still have the same kind of thought process as my son because they grow up in the same space?
That is such a good question and such an intelligent response to what I was saying. Like, I am floored that this happens to be a relevant response for you. Thank you. Having studied similar, although not identical, neurological, people call them disorders, and I hate that. But maps, essentially. I can learn how to ride a bike that has 5 pedals and 6 different brakes connections. People design crazy stuff like that all the time. And they can tell you, like, you can only use 2 feet on the pedals at a time, but you can switch which pedals you're using. And it'll be great because you're suspended in midair and you can just move your hands or some crazy shit like that. And forgive me, everyone who ends up watching this, I do curse like a sailor, like, I'm sorry, but also it's my life. I just do. So, sorry, Elizabeth, if I'm making your children blush, let me know.
Yeah. Their dad's a Marine. They haven't heard. Yeah.
Right. Okay. The reason I mentioned the bike analogy is because a lot of people get so overwhelmed by looking at the gears and the seats and the things that they won't pay attention to the fact that all they really need to touch are these pedals and these brakes. Even learning how to ride at 10 speed can be overwhelming for a lot of people because there's these speed adjusters, there's these brakes, it's a lot. As everybody develops, they can either be taught to be overwhelmed by the number of pedals and brakes and everything else on their bike, or they can be taught, no, you just got to get moving, you know. I have ADD, ADHD that runs in my ex-husband's family and my family to a certain extent, and I have been trying to teach all of our kids that you have to learn how to ride the bike you're on. It doesn't matter whether it's like other people's bikes. The reason this is a response to you, the kids who I have met who are autistic, who are taught how to ride the bike they have and not to try and act like other kids at school, it'll take them a few tries of going through a topic before they'll really understand how it's relevant to the conversation that's going on around them. And that's the verbal experience for autistic children in my experience so far. If they are verbal at all, the act of figuring out the conversation becomes a verbal experiment with the entire class dragged into their comprehension. It's actually beautiful to watch if you know that everybody's on board, including a teacher. Because yes, we are discussing this book. Yes, but you mentioned a lamb. Yes, the lamb is in the book. It's called Mary Had a Little Lamb. Okay, but I thought the lamb left. Well, the lamb was sent home from the school. Right, so why are we talking about the lamb? Because the lamb came back. Okay, so are we talking about the whole book? Yes. Oh, and the lamb's in the whole book? Yes. They can learn how to have that conversation up here over time, but they have to learn how to have that with other people first in order to get the hang of it. And it's, like I said, it's actually beautiful to watch them begin to work this out because they are learning that it's going to take them 4 passes at that same topic before they really understand what they're discussing. But if they take their time and pay attention and they're careful with their own feelings, they can take all 4 passes to make sure that they understand what the topic is and just make a confirmation of sorts along the way and follow along. I mentioned before I don't like the word disorder for ADD, ADHD, encephalopathy. As far as I'm concerned, it's just everybody's learning how to ride the bike they were given. And whether we're trying to get to the end of the marathon or the end of the block, we're still going to have to ride our bike to get there, as it was given to us, for better and worse. Since my body's been breaking on the regular, which is going to come back into that Dear Diary part of the explanation, I've learned more and more that I'm not going to get to any goal line in my life by trying to do it like anybody else. If I have an IBS flare-up, if somebody ends up sneaking me gluten, isn't that funny? If my back flares up, if something happens, I have to physically get all of my life done somehow around it not working. And your daughter, your son are each going to have their own situations that come up where they're going to have to figure this out. Now, an interesting fact for you, do you go by Elizabeth or Beth more? It's Beth, isn't it?
It's Beth.
Okay, so Beth. Beth, when I have studied kids who have similar mental patterning, that's what I want, mental patterning to what it sounds like your daughter, what you're expecting your daughter to have. one of the interesting things in that case is that they have less of the, we're going to use that fence again. This is past, this is future. We were talking about how the brain doesn't change shape and size over time, right?
Mm-hmm.
The kids who have to go around the block to get to the front door in their memory storage and their comprehension, they also tend to be a lot more prone to sensing things out of order. It's like the brain doesn't have the natural function that says, oh, wait, we haven't experienced that yet. Because the running theory among a lot of, well, shamans and then certain neurologists, the running theory is that we don't record time in a linear function. We only experience time in a linear function. So we can't experience everything we're ever always going to be through in this form all at one time. We'd go crazy. The processing wouldn't work. We'd be overloaded. It would shut us down. Instead, we have to go through each moment of life. Sorry, my hips hurt. Like I was saying, we have to go through each moment of life one at a time and learn the lessons of that and build relationships of that. But in the meantime, we still had those memories already in there somehow. This annihilates any concept of cause and effect.
It's kind of like when I have one of my seizures and I've got amnesia for the next 2 days and then everything kicks back in.
Makes sense. Core systems offline. Core systems offline. But then once they're back online, you not only all of the core memories and all of the after memories somehow available, but all of the middle memories probably flood back too. Because your core system was never really offline, it just wasn't connecting with your soul. I should qualify that a little bit because I know a lot of scientific-minded people who don't necessarily fully believe in the soul. And there is a very calm, logical way to explain that on a greater level. We're going to come back to study by neurologists, okay? When you are actively thinking about this thing or that thing or the other thing, you can see that there's activity in the brain. If you put somebody into an MRI or something, CAT scan or something, and you're testing the electronic activity in the brain, there are certain things you can see. If you are picturing a traumatic event from your childhood that is an absolutely full 3D experience for you, it will look like you are smelling it. It will look like you are hearing it in that moment. It will not use past tense. It will use current receptors as though you are currently receiving it. And it will also activate the memory portions of the brain, the pain functions of the brain if you were hurt. It's amazing. But whether big or small, you're only going to see the sections of the brain that are reacting. And if they were to prick you with a needle while playing loud, heavy metal music that you don't happen to like, you might have the exact same portions of your brain light up on their sensors. So hold on a second. If you're reacting to a song and a painful poke, that can show up exactly the same or very nearly the same as if you're reliving a horrible trauma from your childhood. Where's the sense of scale? Where's the size? So they've studied that because that doesn't make sense. And the fact of the matter is they cannot see the mind, the thoughts, the active, the reactions that I was talking about, the stress noise in your head at that grocery store when the phone rings. They can't see that in neurological testing. They've tried, which I can't imagine it would have been pleasant to be in any of those tests, but they tried, okay? Memories and experiences are too big to see. And let's not forget that litany of noise that happens anytime anyone tries to meditate. Your underwear is chafing you. You're sitting wrong. Your underwear is chafing you. Hey, 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 you should adjust. Your underwear it's chafing. Okay, fine, I'll adjust. Okay, good. Now it feels like it is because I said that enough times. Sorry, guys. Your sweater's riding up. I know I'm suggesting. No, it's not there. It's in the, okay, there. Meditating. Where are the kids? They're with their father. They're fine. Okay? Are you sure? Yes, monkey mind. I am sure. I am sure I am fine. Let me meditate. It's called monkey mind in Eastern traditions because it is the jabbering. It's that thing that happens to us, right? It makes us unhappy. It makes us tired. But that monkey mind, whether it's little or whether it's huge, is never going to show up on a neurological scan. It's not inside our brain. Think about it. When you feel your arm, you can feel the fabric that's on you. You can feel a bug bite. You can feel that hair or that freckle that always seems to distract you. You can feel these things, right? But when it comes to your mind, it doesn't feel like it's in your head. And with all of the testing I've described to you, it's not. It's not in your head. There's no way to see big thoughts versus little thoughts. You can see whether or not a stress response is going off. But in a lot of ways, the theory of, again, theories of shamans and neurologists is that our brain is an interception between our soul, which is animating our body, that we've never fully understood how the body like comes to life and why does it stop working, especially with all these people who just like, oh, I am back to life after a 10-year coma. You know, we don't get it. And I don't know that we ever will, nor should we. Like, I want people to know how to just flick the switch on and off for a soul. That's kind of disturbing. I would like that to belong to the universe and not me. But that hardwired connection of not just responding or not just being able to respond and not just will we respond, but the visceral experience of having something there to record the world and react to it. That's the soul. To a very real extent, it's the thing that puts us each in motion. Okay, so soul is putting us in motion. We are moving. And our mind is trying to keep up with us as we can't hold still, myself included. And all of these different things in day-to-day life are playing in and factoring in. We're exhausted. We're overwhelmed. We're excited. We're exultant. We have all of these amazing things in our world. It's so cool. And all of the exaltation is going on at the same time as all of the I want to hide under our beds. Of course, because life is not straightforward. And we're trying to record all of this simultaneously and react to it simultaneously. You're seeing how controlling your attention and time management and even neurological impulses all factor into the same conversation here. When you have a seizure, Beth, you go offline. Where's your soul go? It's still there. You're still moving. You're still reacting. You're still thinking. But the interface that's recording all of your memories isn't communicating with your soul. Not quite. And the interface that recorded everything before and everything after isn't communicating quite right with your soul. It's like the Wi-Fi signal is failing. Your computer's still working, it just won't talk to the internet. And the internet's still there. It's still working over there. You just don't get any, sorry. Like, I love you. Man, that is the most accurate and also kind of sad description. I feel like I should hug you now. And to a certain extent, your babies are going to have their own neurological dysfunctions where their computer still works, but it's not recording right, or it's not communicating well, it's not downloading, its upload speed kind of sucks. There's going to be things that happen with your babies because they're just different. Again, I don't like the word disorder. They're going to learn how to order their environment however they want to, using the tools that they were born with. Because it's the only way that they can do it, is with the tools that they were born with. And to come back to synchronicity, if you honestly believe the world gives you what you need in life, then they were given tools that will get them there. Period. Somehow. Their job is to work with the universe, within the universe, to figure out the best way to do that. And your job as their mom is to help them find those tools when it's really hard to predict all these things. But if you're not trying to stay 5 steps ahead, if you're just trying to react as the world unfolds, your happiness level is probably going to feel a lot better. Because if you're planning 5 steps ahead of what? Like, really bizarre story from my childhood. My birth mother fell down 1 step at work. She hit the corner of a step in a darkened room, spun her around, cracked her other leg on the stair above it. And when she landed, she was in excruciating pain, and she finds out she has shattered her bone like safety glass. Has to be in a cast all the way up to her thigh because of the stair that she just cracked her leg on. Right. She's amazing and has ninja skills like me. And praise God, that's not going to happen to me. But when you're trying to plan 5 steps ahead, you don't always get that warning or preparation time or whatever if you're failing to account for, I'm going to shatter my leg next week. She had a feeling sometime in the month before all that she really ought to maybe sort of exchange her Ford Fiesta for something different. So she went and she found this amazing deal on a giant minivan. And it was only giant because we were a little family. There was mom, 2 daughters, and a foster kid. There wasn't a whole lot of activity going on that we really needed a huge car. Until she shattered her leg. And she had to transport herself and all of her schoolwork because she was the teacher and her wheelchair. And she had to get in and out of the car without help. And if she was in the Ford Fiesta, which was also a clutch, she had to change gears and stuff, she couldn't do that with her leg in a cast. So she had this automatic with lots of room, less than a month before she shatters her leg. But she wasn't planning 5 steps ahead. She was listening and trusting her gut and following her instinct along the way. And that is fascinating because that comes back to that synchronicity where we feel like something's factoring in. If you are controlling your attention, and no matter what you do, you cannot get your mind off of something. Girl, it's relevant. Boy, howdy, you better aim for that. Or at least address it. Or at least, I don't know, think through it. Play with it for a little while. Why can't I get off this?
It's kind of like when we found out I was pregnant. We hadn't planned on having any more babies, but the month before I was offered a job.
Yeah.
I hadn't had a job because of the other baby. And then I realized, okay, I need to go back to work, but I didn't know why. And then I got pregnant. And we figured out, oh, I need to go back to work because we have to provide for this one.
Yeah. And we've got a lot of work to do to make sure she's taken care of. And then when the pregnancy got hard, you were let go, but you needed that time as well as the extra money you would earn.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually worked out great. Hard. Hard, but great. What a lot of people also don't realize is when you get that tarot reading or that prediction or something that says, man, you gonna have some shit to do, man. It's gonna be rough. That's not a bad thing. It is now your turn to fall down steps. Ready? Let's go. When you have to fall down steps, drunks survive car accidents better than sober people, right? Because when the car hits something, they just fall out of the car. They don't brace for impact. They don't go, oh, they just magnificently swan dive out and pull a somersault and then stick the landing, most of the paramedics I've ever talked to who know this fact hate it. It is awful. They're like, they were the villain in the circumstance. They should be the one punished. No, they're fine. Alcohol relaxes the body, relaxes the mind, and also relaxes one's expectations so you're not bracing for it as hard. Beth, you and I talked a handful of times when you were pregnant about how you are getting warned that things are going to be hard in your life. But while you were warned about this, you prepared for it. You wrapped your head around, okay, how will this work? You relaxed into it so you could stick the landing. And by the way, kudos. You've done a fantastic job despite a lot of odds against you. And all of these warnings that you received along the way, you were able to center yourself. And I remember us having this conversation, you are going to be prepared for anything that happens with your baby because you're figuring out the background on it. You're working out all of these potentials and you're figuring out how to be proactive with them. If you curl up in a ball and hide and go, it's basically like bracing for impact. It's going to ultimately hurt you. But if you relax into it and just let yourself fall down the stairs and figure out the safest way to stick the landing at the bottom, you're not actually likely to break a bone, It just won't feel good. And personally, I'd rather have a bruise here and a pulled muscle right here than to have a broken leg after having rolled down the stairs. You can't necessarily stop the world from playing dodgeball, everyone against you. It feels that way, doesn't it? But you can make sure you're ready to dodge. Or you're in the janitor's closet and nobody knows you're there when it's time for the game to start. I've pulled that routine at least twice, and it works remarkably well. I know this situation is going to go bad, so fish it all out. I will be okay. I have no interest in any of that. And that's another thing where synchronicity can come in. If you are honestly dreading something for no reason, I do not want to go to that. I know I don't want to go to that. I know that's going to go south. You have two options. Either suck it up, look your best, walk in and do it, or make other plans. I suddenly got a call. I don't know, I'm feverish. I love you, gotta go. But don't just freak yourself out and then go anyway while you're screaming on the inside. That's part of time management that most people, they skip because they forget that there's a whole predictive end of our brain. And I love this fence behind me. I felt bad turning around, but now it's perfect because every time I talk about the timeline, I'm like, this part. There's this whole predictive part of our brain. And it'll tell us when shit's going to go sideways. But I love this. It can also tell us how. It can tell us when. It can tell us where. I'm honestly overwhelmed by all these different examples I can tell on this topic. My old job, I wasn't sure if I was going to lose it. I wasn't sure if I wanted to. I wasn't sure how happy I was at it. And things kept going really wrong. And I kept looking at the universe and saying, I know you have a plan for this, but y'all sure? It was uncomfortable. It was stressful. It was overwhelming. I didn't love it.
I know I've brought them up a ridiculous amount, especially in our conversations, but just as a correlation, it's kind of like when my body and my mind are saying, you're about to have an episode, get to somewhere safe.
Oh, yeah. 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 And, Charlie has that too, actually, where he gets a warning that he's going to have a seizure, and get to somewhere safe. And it is a lot like that, and you have to learn to listen to that. Doctors aren't going to be able to hear that. They're never going to find it on a test. They're never going to be able to, like, fact check it, discern it, clarify it. And that's what we all want. Like, I want someone to be able to look at me and, like, fact check me. Are you sure that you're correct on this? Well, let's see how your sensitivity settings are working for you right now. Oh, it looks like you're picking up on the future very well. Well, that's good. Good. You're picking up on about 3 days hence from now. So let's make sure in 3 days. There is nobody who can do that. Like, I'm good and I can't even do that exactly. I can't just fact check somebody's instinct. You can. Ha! We just found one of the crux points that everybody ever struggles with. You are the center of your life and will be your whole life. Forever. No question. You cannot help this. You should not try to help this. You want to be the center of your life. If you are not the center of your life, you are probably dead or miserable. You are also the only living expert on you. Anyone else who would try and describe you is missing key information, whether because they were not there, or it's not in writing, or because they're only looking at your medical records and not your educational history or your business experience. Like, no one is going to be able to sum you up correctly into the sum of your parts. You. No spouse, no parent, no expert. Why this is not common knowledge in the modern world, I cannot understand. Why this is not something every religious leader on the regular explains to people, I cannot understand. Because as soon as you throw that into the conversation, a lot of things start making more sense. I know what my medical symptoms are. No one else does. If you want to know what my medical symptoms are, hair doctor, you are going to listen and not tell me. Do not just test them. I know what I want or need at any given point. Do not, dear spouse, try and tell me what I need or want right now. If you want to know, then ask. And my personal favorite, just because it came up a lot this week, I'm not yelling at you is not something anyone can ever actually say. If I feel like you're yelling at me, you are. How can I change my method so you don't feel like I'm yelling at you? That is a fair response. I'm not intending to, and I'm definitely not raising my voice. What are you responding to here? I will adjust. It's also fine. And I've had to play that card with my 8-year-old a number of times this week. Or last week, I guess. I don't feel like I'm yelling at you. Why do you feel like I am? Because you're telling me to change what I'm doing. Oh, well, I'm telling you to change what you're doing because you need to, but I'm not yelling at you and I'm not upset with you. Important point of distinction. Completely adjusted how we were interacting at the time. As we go through every single moment, we are the only ones who know what our before is, what our current is, and what pieces of our future we've picked up on. We're the only ones who can work out the symbolism and the language of it. And it is symbolic and it is linguistic. The universe communicates with us, and I love this. When people talk about dream interpretation, they're like, how do I know that I'm doing it right? How do I know that I'm picking up on everything correctly? Am I doing? I don't know. Am I Am I okay? Like, people will really struggle with this. And what does this mean? They'll say. One of the most important, most powerful combinations of descriptions I ran across when I was working on that is that symbolism is personal. Your life is personal. And if you want to know what symbols mean in your life, you have to use personal interpretation. Why that sounds so simple and yet ends up being so complex, I do not know. Like, I am baffled, completely confused. But we all go through that on a regular basis. God, what did you mean? Mama, Papa, what did you mean? Past life person, deceased relative, what did you mean? They're trying to communicate with you. So if the divine is reaching out to you, you look up their symbols, their language, their history, and then you look up your own experience, your language, your history. You actually include yourself in this equation. What would this mean for me? What's something in my past life, as in my past living, my past, that would possibly explain the relevance of this thing? Because if God is all powerful and is deliberately trying to talk to you on purpose, then God is trying to talk to you in words you will understand. Or else God's not as all powerful as we thought, because, like, honestly, why the heck would they talk to you in, French Swahili if you don't speak French Swahili and you're not meant to go anywhere that anybody does? Now, don't get me wrong, if God starts talking to you in French Swahili and you find out, cool, like, you might have a trip on your hands. There's worse things. I would love to go somewhere where people speak that language, if it is a language. I kind of made something up. But that would be cool. I'd go to that place. But it's going to be relevant to you because, again, synchronicity. Who's the center of your world? Who is the only person who will ever be the center of your world?
That particular analogy is seriously hitting home because I just got a message that my grandfather had a stroke. And last night I had a really freaky dream about him and my grandmother. I'd called my grandmother on the phone and she answered. And in the background, I heard my grandfather, but my grandmother told me that he had died in the hospital. And she was hearing, and what I was hearing was a recording of his voice from a video that was made from an activity that we were doing years and years and years ago.
Yeah.
And I woke up this morning and I was terrified. Because I've explained to you a lot of my dreams before, like the one that I had when I was pregnant with Catherine. That one was a crazy one.
Yeah.
But then this morning, like I said, I was
scary.
Absolutely terrified. And it's not the first time. I mean, I've had so many dreams where I see something and then like 3 days later, what I saw happens. And I don't always understand why I'm seeing it. And then I get that deja vu where, oh, hey. But my thing is, if I'm going to see it, how do I know how to incorporate what I've seen so that I can help the situation with what I have experienced just in my head instead of around with other people in my life?
I prefer the Dr. Seuss method. And no, I'm not blowing you off or making light of it, I promise. Will it happen in my car? Will it happen near or far? Will it happen in a shoe? And if it happens, what do I do? If you're assuming that your brain was able to pick up on this ahead of time, then you're also assuming you have the tools to be able to work on this in the current moment. Okay. And that's not a bad thing. Assuming that you have the tools to deal with this, it's cool. Actually, it's really cool. Time management, controlling your attention, we come back to acting and reacting, which we were talking about at the beginning of everything. When you get news like that, get the reaction out. The terror is going to come first, correct? You are now aware of your reaction. Your internal sensation has been accomplished. Good job. Gold stars. Your internal reaction is going to happen either way, but that is a visceral response. It's like bruising after you get punched. Of course it's going to happen. Then you can go ahead and go, okay, wait a second. How bad do I feel a minute later? Do I have to worry that I broke something? You know, we've all done that when we get punched or run into a tree or something. Like, I'm going to have a bruise, but it's going to be okay. When it comes to a dream like that, that's going to hurt. It's a warning that you're going to hurt. Correct. But you're being warned now. Time management says, clear your schedule. Get a babysitter. Find some flexibility. This happened. I know it's serious. The more that you're in touch, in my personal experience, the more that you're in touch with the part of you that can predict, the less it has to resort to dreams that terrify you to let you know. You can start just getting little signs along the way. And then your higher self will look at you and go, oh, cool. She got the message. All right. We need to make sure she's taking it seriously. But she got the message. And they'll kind of call off the dogs. They'll stop setting off all the sirens and they'll stop having this like sensation inside your head. I got the message. In this case, I am sorry. It sounds like your higher self is letting you know you have so many days to see your grandfather before he's gone. If that's accurate, Dr. Seuss game. If that's accurate and you go, is there anything wrong with that? You might use some babysitting time that you wouldn't use otherwise, or you might take the kids with you. Who knows? It's COVID. Like, maybe you can't go see them. Maybe you can video chat with them. No one show them the babies. You can start working on ways to kind of close the gap there, knowing that this is serious. You can reach out to other relatives and let them know, especially people who have cause to trust your instincts. You have a feeling this is going to be more serious, and get them to take it seriously. And if you did all that, maybe that's what the universe is trying to accomplish, and you don't actually end up losing him because there's now a tight-knit network that's supporting him psychologically, and he feels better enough that he can recover. Don't forget, the universe is trying to get your attention, and you aren't sure why. Maybe you're supposed to change things. The warning is there so that you have the opportunity to do so, or to make the best of it in the meantime. There's not really a downside there. Either way, you're going to get this end result, maybe. So either way, you can act in the most positive response possible. If your dream is wrong, and your grandpa did have a stroke, are you really going to be off by saying, I think this is serious, if it is? And it sounds like it's serious either way. Be careful how you choose your words. You don't want to call everyone and say, he has 3 days to live, starting now, or something weird like that, where they won't trust you later. It's too specific, and frankly, you don't want to say it out loud anyway. It feels gross. So choose words you're comfortable with, that people will hear. But then also, you're referring to this dream that was past tense, warning you about something that's future tense that hasn't happened yet. Regardless of how, like, what comes after, that part of the screen, whatever is going on in this future that we cannot perceive at all right yet. And really big factors in our life often have blinders on. No matter how psychic you are, you can't predict some things about your own life. The universe won't let us. It's like you will get some surprises you have to actually learn in your life, and not just go through and prove that you know the script. Come on, guys. So you can go ahead and start being proactive and working towards this without knowing what's going to come right about there. And if you do it right, or if you do it wrong, it doesn't really matter. But if you do it right, then you're building it so that whatever comes past this invisible point right here is going to empower you, and it's going to empower your family, and it's going to empower your friends. And you're going to act in a way that you're going to leave yourself less likely to feel crippled afterwards. Losing someone dear to us feels a lot like losing a leg or a lung or something. So preparing by spending time with people and having time with family and clearing your schedule and organizing your fields in advance so that they're not quite as big of a avalanche coming down on us in response. All that can be important and helpful. Similar to what you just described, not at all the same. Last week I had this Dear Diary moment with the topic of this meeting. Monday, Tuesday, I think it was Monday night, I decided I wanted to start this weekly class for free with everyone. And I'm hoping that people come back and see these videos after the fact. And frankly, I'm hoping they can. I have to do some research on this to make sure how to do it right. And this video, luckily, is turning out much better than last week's. I don't know if anybody saw that one. It's kind of sketchy. I kept blinking in and out. But when I set the subject for this, it was in the midst of my back had been flaring up for days. I was trying to get ahead of it. I was trying to work with the predictors in my day-to-day life and what jobs I should apply for and what things I should be working towards, while also trying to focus on when I lost my job, I had to hustle because unemployment is like, in a month or two, you might see it. And I needed to make sure my bills were paid right now. So thank you to the whole community. Oh my gosh, who helped support me. And I hope I have brought to everyone everything that feels of monetary value for how much you guys have helped my finances. Like, really, I can afford to help you more if I can afford to help you more. And I can right now. And I appreciate that so much. But I was nervous, and I had a vacation that was planned that involved going out of state when I was nervous about finances, and I just got my severance check from my old job. My back was flared up, and I had a feeling that shit would come up on this weekend trip, but it would be good if I relaxed into it and just went with the flow, not a constant reaction, but instead of constant interaction with the world around me, and just let myself take the time. That proved so true. It was hilarious. The friend I was going up to visit, I don't know what was going on with her. She hasn't told me. It was a rough weekend for her. And anything past that is key biz, I'm not going to say. We had a wonderful visit out of state. I ended up making some great professional contacts who I've known for years. I just didn't know where they physically lived. They're actually longtime family friends who are running pay-in shops who want to have classes with me. Hey guys, I'm going to be up in Michigan teaching some classes soon. I had a wonderful time meeting people. I had a wonderful time going swimming in one of the coldest, saltiest pools I've ever seen in a hotel. I had a great time sitting around a campfire or a fire pit with some new and wonderful friends and some old and valued friends. I had such a great weekend. I was slipped some gluten on Friday, and I had IBS the whole weekend. Like, it felt like going into labor. On and off for a whole weekend. You know, late first stage, mid first stage of labor, when you really feel like your insides are trying to crawl out your mouth or maybe out your legs. You're not really sure, but they're definitely not where they belong. Whole weekend. Great. But while I was there, I let myself enjoy what I was doing. I didn't hide in my bed. I didn't stay in my room. I didn't ignore everyone. What would have been the point? I would have just been laying there miserable the whole time. Time management. If I can direct my attention to something that makes this horrible moment more valuable, more meaningful, more worthwhile to me, why not? When I had loved ones, actually, Beth, in the hospital myself, and I was dying on the inside, I would wander around and find beautiful chapels or nifty hidden, they've got all these different courtyards in hospitals nowadays. I would find these places of peace where I could maybe go sneak a cigarette, or maybe I was just trying to take a moment for myself. I would sit in the bathroom with the comic book I was reading and just stay in the bathroom and read the comic book until I could people again. And, I'm in one stall out of 10 in the nearest public restroom. Nobody cares. My family knows I had to wander off for a little bit. We all need something to keep us going. We don't know what it is. And if we had to quantify it from moment to moment, we would probably get the script wrong on the regular. I can't count how many people, when they're at the end of their rope, they're totally overwhelmed. The whole world feels like white noise. You ask them, what can I do to help? And they're like, I don't know. If I knew the answer to that, I wouldn't be a mess. I still keep asking the question. Because, one, free will is important. Having autonomy is important. Running things by people and getting their buy-in, getting their acquiescence, and not even that, their exultant participation is important. So even if I'm asking, hey, can I do X, Y, or Z? One way or another, that person who's going through some stuff should be allowed to answer. But two, posing the question gets their mind working on it. And sometimes it runs it right into, well, I don't know how to help myself. I don't know how to help myself. I'm such a fucking loser. I don't know how to help myself. Everyone ever has that. But over time, the dialogue shifts. As that question is posed in a non-combative, pleasant way. What can I do to help? My feet hurt. Okay, let me rub your feet. No, you don't have to do that. It's just my feet hurt. I know. But if I fix your feet, you will feel better for a minute. So let me rub your feet. Okay, I guess. And then as soon as you start to rub their feet, they're like, oh my God, the whole world felt like awful. And now it doesn't. And maybe they cry, or maybe they laugh, or maybe their brain just gets off topic. But because there was one thing you could do that felt helpful, dialogue shifts. When I was going through the last week, I ended up having to ask for a lot of help, but I made sure it was fairly low maintenance, just tolerate me bitching. Let me come along and complain. Like, I just need the Eeyore for a while. I will be fine. I promise you I'm having a good time. And I would include all of this positive feedback and all of these responses. When I got home, my beloved, bless him, he was having a really tough time because that trip was very hard on him. And when the roles were reversed, he didn't know how to say, thank you for what you are doing, but I need more. I need something to redirect my attention. Yes, I will do anything you want to try because I want to feel better. Just let me complain a little bit. Like, he couldn't quite figure out the receptiveness until we ended up yelling at each other, which a lot of times, secret between all of us, sometimes when we're having a rough time, we're really argumentative people. You know why? We're argumentative people right then because we want to yell. We want a chance to be upset. We want to feel heard in our displeasure. We want someone to look at us and go, God, I know you are hurting and I am so sorry. Can I help? We want someone to look at us and say, I didn't do anything, so we can yell back, yes, you did. And be able to get it out.
I can't tell you the number of times that my husband and I do that activity. It's gotten to the point where his family, if we're in the same room and one of us is pissed off, they will not interact with us because they know that the other one is going to explode onto them. But they also don't understand that's how we communicate, because it helps both
Right.
of us.
Once it's out of your system, you're fine.
Exactly.
It's kind of like throwing up. And if the two people involved emotionally agree that this is okay because I want to feel better, then it's okay. Now, if one of the two parties doesn't agree, it's abuse. Like, it very quickly shifts to abuse. It sucks, actually. But if the two people involved have this, like, emotional handshake agreement of, I will help you feel better until you feel better, okay? Agreed. And we can go ahead and get it out of our systems. It's like vomiting. We don't like to do it, but sometimes it's important.
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope that didn't disrupt the communication process. I was saying something before I got a phone call that tried to interrupt the Zoom meeting, and again, I apologize.
About it.
When it was an example, and I was just starting on an example. Beth, do you remember what it was?
You had said something about it's like vomiting. We don't want to do it, but we have to do it sometimes.
Yeah.
It's kind of like morning sickness.
Sometimes, yeah. Oh, my student, that's what it was. My old student, she had learned a whole lot of horrible inner dialogues, like horrible inner dialogues. She had learned to truly hate herself because all of the people in her world allowed this ongoing systemic abuse to happen to her. And instead of ever defending her, they defended the person that she was stuck accusing. Or the people who would defend him, she would try and talk about them with someone else, and they would be defended. And she would be told how awful, pointless, distracting, tiresome, etc. she was. And it was a lot of yelling matches over the years. When I wanted to talk with her, and please notice I'm giving no personal details, nor do I have any interest in it. When I try and talk about examples from my therapy, I also try to make sure that I'm using things that are empowering and vague. Because almost everyone I know has been in a situation similar to this, or someone very dear to them has, and it's awful, but it's true. When she was trying to learn a positive inner dialogue, I quickly realized that her negative inner dialogue had been written by yelling. It had been written by anger and frustration and feeling cornered and feeling lost and feeling overwhelmed, and the world is just too mean. Okay. So if I wanted to be the voice of reason in this situation, I wasn't even going to rank in her mental dialogue unless I was willing to be the opposing party defending her in the same argument that she's had so many times before. I have to rewrite this script because it's the script that's the problem. And the result is that she is in pain. The result is that she has a poor view of herself, but the script is the problem. So when she got emotionally lost in her inner diatribe, and she was struggling and she was fighting to see her way through this, I very quickly realized that I needed to yell with her, at her. No, you are not going to say terrible things about yourself. I love my student. I care about my student, and you aren't going to talk this shit about my student when I know that she is capable and intelligent and kind. And for the first time in her life, she had someone yelling against that script, telling her she mattered, telling her she was worth it. And I wasn't in it for sex, and I wasn't in it to use her, and I wasn't in it to take her money. I wasn't in it for anything other than that I cared about her and I wanted her to feel better. This is one of the reasons I actually hate charging for my study sessions, because I want people to realize this is something I'm doing because I love it. Now, admittedly, this is the point where I need to tell everyone, I have recently taken up counseling, therapy, and my study sessions for pay, because I can afford to help you all if I can afford to help you all. If anybody would like to sign on with me for weekly, and this isn't directed personally at you, Beth, I'm hoping to share this video long-term as one of the study sessions that I do every week. If anybody would like to work with me longer term, if these words are striking a chord with you and you think I can help you, I am happy to. I do need to be able to pay my bills. So I will work with people for free, but those who pay me will always, I have to make them a top priority because I would like to pay my bills. So if anybody is interested in getting a hold of me for more information, you can message me on Facebook. In the meantime, though, when working on my study sessions in the past with this particular student, that yelling match that I mentioned ended up rewriting her script, or at least finally starting the act of rewriting it, where she could begin to perceive herself in a positive light. She had, I want to say 14 years when I met her. I could be off on this, but I think it was about 14 years of systemic abuse built up. Now that she's had this more positive inner dialogue and real life direction and a belief that she can do it, in about half that time, she's finally been able to really rewrite her inner dialogue. And it did take about 7 years for all of this to set in and properly gel. But she's continued to work on it the whole time, and she's unwritten a lot of that abuse dialogue in the meantime. How many of us need a yelling match so that it can finally go right? How many of us need that fight so we can finally get out of the slime pit of emotions that we were taught we belong in? And we need somebody who's willing to punch out the alligator and help us out of the pit instead of attacking us alongside the alligator, you know? We're rooting for the alligator, or at least that's how it seems. And waving a rope in front of our face isn't necessarily going to do it either, you know? And I do say this at the same time as Beth, you're facing an alligator right now. You might end up needing some yelling matches to figure it out. You might need to explain to other people how, yes, I know I'm struggling right now. Here's how you can help me. My feet hurt. It's not related, but I will take any positive endorphins if it will rewrite my inner script. And so you all know, I'm a firm believer that really horrible depression can be temporarily treated by orgasms. I think this is important. I think more adults should recognize this fact. I think the world would be a much better place. Sex is not bad. It is a chemical reaction that we all have inside of our bodies in response to certain stimuli. And if we are really, really miserable, having that reaction to certain physical stimuli is a good thing. I'm not saying be gross about it. I'm not saying be vulgar about it. It doesn't have to involve a bathroom or indiscretion. It can if you really want to, but it doesn't have to. We can just feel better for a minute. By the way, when I felt really
Some
miserable,
days I think that's what my husband is for.
right? Right. These real life issues that we all struggle with have real life solutions. And sometimes it's as simple as, yes, honey, get the chocolate stack. Or, you know, get other things. This weekend, I made sure to get things that were calming and helpful to my body. Anyone struggling with IBS, I do want to let you know, holistic solutions like peppermint tea, chamomile tea, ginger. Oh my God, ginger. Oh. And things like that can do a lot of good for our digestive process and for easing our discomfort. Starbucks has a comfort tea that includes all those ingredients. So when I was really miserable and we went to Starbucks, I got comfort tea and all of my pain symptoms would just go away for 4 hours. And I'd be drinking the tea for 2 hours and all the symptoms would go away for 4 hours. And I'd get a snack that sounded good, that was high in protein, and my body could digest that because it was just an egg bite and it's cool. Because we happened to go to Starbucks every day. It was fun. We sat in the cafe, we lounged, we brunched, it was glorious. I was doing things that would cause me to be more comfortable. Well, this all felt like pain because I was taught to do that when I was in. I'm so sorry, guys. I keep getting phone calls. And I'm almost done, so I'll call people back. Don't worry. But I kept doing these things that would make me feel better the way I was taught to do with labor. Because can't go under it, can't go over it, gotta go through it. And the only way through it is to make it more manageable, more bearable. Do you have any idea how much I've used those techniques with time management and controlling my attention during horrible situations? Like if it feels like the whole world is crashing and burning around me, I need to make sure that I have a charger close by. Because if my phone dies and I don't have stupid electronic distractions, I might die. Will I remember the charger? No, but the people who care about me in my life will be like, hey babe, hey Beth, hey mom, you have your charger. Because if your phone dies, you're going to be miserable because they paid attention. Is it time management? Well, yeah, ultimately, yeah, it is. Because if I'm in another state and I have to go get a charger, it's going to be a bad day. If I am across town and broke and I don't have any way to charge my phone and I'm not even sure how to get home, it's going to be a bad day. Some of that is prediction that we can easily see. Like, I am looking in the direction of the future on screen. I can clearly see that this is going to be a concern. But some of it is, this is instinct. I know this is going to be a concern. I better make sure to grab my charger. Then I get in the car, I find out I have two. Oh, well, I'm sure there was a reason for that. And then lo and behold, I run into a friend who's like, I am going to die if I can't charge my phone. I have to call my doctor right now. Oh, I happen to have one. It's a spare. Oh, Shannon loves us. She just messaged us. She tried to make it, but she got distracted. It's okay. So, and it's not always our charger. Honestly, Elizabeth, with everything that Beth, with everything that you've got going on right now, if you are trying to help your family out with your grandpa being in the hospital and whatnot, I would strongly recommend that you figure out whatever is a comfort drink or comfort treat for you.
Reese cups. My husband bought me a pound bag of Reese cups yesterday.
Did he know that this was going on beforehand, or was it just circumstance?
It was just, I know my daughter, my wife's about to start her period and she's going to need chocolate.
God bless his stupid blind instinct that is totally accurate. You have an entire bag of Reese cups. Honey, not only do you have a rescue for your emotional system, but it also comes with an amazing backstory where your husband was so psychic he bought it without knowing that shit was about to hit the fan. You put that in your little travel bag and carry it with you. It will make you feel wonderful the whole time. I have the biggest, funniest looking aunt who just came and crawled on me, and I'm not sure why, but I'm going to share it with you guys because he's really cute. He climbed on me. He's got big old bulbous head.
Oh,
I don't know why he's
he is big.
but he's cute. Okay, go find a tree. I'm not actually a tree. I just wanted to say hi. He's a tree ant. He's a big boy. Yes, you're very cute. He looks like a puppy dog version of the praying mantis's horse. If a praying mantis is a horse, he's the puppy dog. He's very cute. I like him.
Hey,
Sorry,
as long as it's not a spider, I actually like insects.
I love spiders, so I make no promises to not freak you out at some point, but I will try not to. In fact, when I was getting the clothing off the line last night, I saw this amazing daddy long legs with this big, beautiful red body and long, glorious black legs.
See, it's not the small spiders. It's the big, furry, scary ones. Like tarantula type, but they're huge. Right. Those terrify me.
Right, I love looking at them. I even got to see a baby tarantula in the wild in the Amazon, and it was the cutest little thing. It was only this big, this little baby, and its back was like maybe the size of a dime because their bodies are big compared to their legs. Like its body, including the legs, it was the size of a dollar coin or a $50, and its body was only the size of a dime, maybe a penny. But its back had all these beautiful, colorful frills like built into it, and it looks like it had like the Jamaican flag on its back next to all this beautiful black fur. I would not have touched that critter if you paid me. I hate the idea of touching tarantulas. I hate it, especially when I found out that all those furry bits are actually spines that can break off into your skin and feel like glass shards. You know, in the attic they use this spray insulation. I can't touch a tarantula. I can't get myself to. I also can't touch cockroaches on purpose. It makes my entire insides go like this. But I love spiders. And when I saw that one last night, it looked like it was this roach on one of my black pieces of clothing, this little red thing. It looked like a pin or something. It was so elegant and beautiful. And I went to show Charlie, who hates spiders. He's like, you can stay there near that. I'll be over here. And I'm like, oh, he's so cute. I have to get him off the fabric. I picked him up and he's just walking away twitching because he has the same reaction to spiders that I do to cockroaches. And I'm just like,
my husband, I love snakes. I love snakes. My husband hates them, but he doesn't like spiders. So if we're not really being mean, but if we're goofing with each other, he tries to terrify me with spiders and I go after him with snakes.
That's so funny. And Shannon loves snakes and hates spiders, so I'm sure she could do something similar. She was just commenting. I'm not sure if you can see it too. It's so much fun in its own way, recognizing how everybody has these tough comfort boundaries. And actually, to go ahead and loop around and get it back on topic, please, not that we're too far afield, but still, to get back to the core topic, you know how many people will get symbolism in their dreams and they'll try to ask for help, and they'll be someone like you where they're like, I had this dream about snakes, and if they look it up, they'll find out that it's an embodiment of evil, a warning for transformation, what are the other things? Snakes are associated with family and the home a lot of times because they're actually very maternal critters most of the time. They can be associated with dark and evil. And I'm actually repeating some of the things I've read because I've looked up snakes before out of curiosity, especially when I was researching Damballa, the rainbow god of these various different voodoo traditions, Santeria. His name might change, but bye, Shannon. I love you so much. Thank you for popping in. I did a lot of research on the symbolism of snakes and discovered how wide-ranging and different all of these things are. Like almost every description of snakes will refer to transformation as part of it, no question. But then the evil, the temptation factor that's more from the Christian mythos. If your husband were to have a dream about snakes, Beth, I would wonder if he was going to be in danger or in some extraordinary discomfort, because for him, snakes result in extraordinary discomfort. If you were to have a dream about snakes, my guess is that you would be having an indication of something that will leave you comfortable while everyone else is squirming. And that is a very important message to get in life if you know to read it. I will be fine. Everyone watching is going to be crawling out of their skin. Okay, cool. That's what a snake might mean for you, because it's talking to you in your language. So if you were to get a premonition involving a snake and start to prepare for it, start to figure out how to balance your time and energy, for you, it would be counterproductive if you were preparing for evil and temptation and everything. You would not be the one who's comfortable in the room anymore. You would get what you're looking for. You remember early on I was talking about the world gives us what we're expecting? If you get that premonition and you're like, okay, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I might be uncomfortable. Depends what the snake's doing in the dream, obviously. Everybody else is going to be uncomfortable. I might be the only one who knows what to do because it's a snake and I can pick one up. Sure, no problem. I know what breed that is. That's fine. I know what breed that is. I need to stay away from it. Maybe no one else will recognize it because they're so busy being freaked out. And as we live in a real world where our mind has already experienced and processed all of this past, but it's still getting glimmers of this future that we have to make sense of. As we're figuring out how to manage our time, those premonitions can help us do it better. Like when I went on the trip, I knew ahead of time, I'm not making any plans. I'm just going to show up and find out what's supposed to be going on. My life had been so hard the 2 weeks before that trip. I was having a very hard time planning anything. Now, to conclude the Dear Diary explanation, since then I realized that my comfort levels have to factor into my schedule. That my comfort levels involve certain things that are atypical for anyone else, but ideal for me. My life is a complex and beautiful place where I live every day, and I have to enjoy it. And I have to figure out how to make that work in ways that work for me and nobody else without hating myself for doing it. I need to not judge myself for the things that make me more comfortable. How often do we judge ourselves? How often is the captain in our head looking at the first mate in our head and saying, why the fuck did you react that way to those stimuli? Didn't I tell you better? No, you told me to expect a calm, sunny day, and there was a storm. Yeah, but you should have reacted better. Like, we're always judging ourselves instead of going, we probably should have made sure we were ready for both a storm and a calm, sunny day, huh? Yeah. Do we need a beer or a cuddle or a Reese's cup? Yeah. Okay, let's go cuddle. No judgment. Yes, I struggled. Correct. Now, can I make myself feel better? And if we do that with ourselves, it's easier to do that with others. And if we do that with others, we don't have to do it for ourselves as often because we're all supporting each other. And it feels okay. And that's all life really needs to be. How to Happy is the name of this series, right, y'all? Happiness is the ongoing feeling of optimism and that life is okay right now. So if you want a happy, I'm not saying if you want to be happy. No, it's a verb. If you want to happy, then aim for things that make you feel okay right now. And then right now. And then right now. Even if you feel like you're in childbirth for an entire weekend with no child in the near future and no end in sight, even if you're maybe losing a relative, or maybe not, and all you know is you got a horrible premonition and it feels like yuck, even if you're stuck not totally sure where life is going to take you next, or even where the next paycheck is coming from, we are all in a position where we can choose to happy. It's a verb. And it might not be all the time, but we can get close enough to it. We're going to like each other a lot more if we do. A last note, and then I'm going to sign off. I've got 5 more minutes that I'm scheduled for, but I also signed on 5 minutes late. I am running a class this weekend at Fort Wayne Pagan Pride Day. And the class that I am running this weekend is similar. It's on topic. It's I'm going to work with people. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Oh, personal protective energies. I'm going to teach people how to provide PPE for their day-to-day life. I want to give credit to whoever suggested that description, and I'm forgetting right now. But yeah, hilarious title. I'm very happy about it. I'm very proud. Personal protective energies. I am going to be talking on Saturday for Fort Wayne Pagan Pride Day about how we each need to provide ourselves with what we need to get through every week, get through every day. And sometimes that's warding ourselves and shielding ourselves. And it's tried and true magical techniques that have been used, frankly, for centuries. Like, a lot of us have all read variants of this from cultures around the world. But a lot of it is also, music makes us feel better. What's the music that makes us feel the most better? No judgment, remember? How to get your daily orgasm. No, let's not go into detail on that, but it does help. And the willingness to do so. The snacks that we need, like the bag of Reese's cups, right before shit hits the fan. Or the emergency stop on the way home where, yes, I'm paying $10 for it at CVS because I need it. Like, okay. But we have to recognize that our feels, our happy is a priority, and build that into our lives. So I'm going to teach a 1-hour class on this and try and keep it short, sweet, and succinct at Fort Wayne Pagan Pride Day this coming Saturday. And part of the reason I have to keep it short is because I'm then also running a ritual that you all might be interested in. It is called, I named it. I should remember what it's called. It's called Phoenix Rising. And we are going to use origami and fire, which is, we can't really go wrong. But we are going to give each of ourselves a moment of quiet introspection, summing up the things we've gone through in the last year. We're going to write it all out. Then we're going to light it on fire with flammable liquids in a metal bowl where it's safe, preferably outside. Nowhere near a smoke detector to make the house scream, and nowhere near other flammable objects. We will have a little fire safety workshop before I tell people to use flammable objects. Everyone has to get the all clear for me to be okay with it anyway. But no, we are going to light that sucker up like a ball of flames and say sayonara to anything that went before that ritual and welcome into the good. Well, welcome in the future and hope that it is better. Let's go ahead and do that. But in the meantime, we're going to give ourselves a moment of reset, a point where everything can hinge, stop, and start. Because sometimes we need that. That will be Saturday afternoon. My class is at 4. My ritual is at 5. And if anyone would like to come and join us, I am sure Fort Wayne Pagan Pride Day would be more than happy to have you. And it happens to be in line with this class on a lot of levels. So you're all welcome. And again, if anybody would like to talk with me about study sessions, counseling, anything like that, I like setting up regular weekly or bi-weekly meetings and just keeping that same bat time, same bat channel with people. So if anyone is interested, hit a girl up. You know where I'm at. You can reach me on Facebook Messenger. It's 11:59. I technically have a minute, but I got here 5 minutes late. Beth, you have hung in with me this whole time. Did I leave you with any questions or confusions or needs for clarification?
No, but I am going to send you a message later, so.
Good. I like those. I actually, every time I get a message from somebody where someone's saying, hey, I need help, I like streamline and focus on that, even if I'm in the middle of the grocery store doing 500 things, and I will at least respond and say, hey, I'll get back to my
So that's one of the reasons I love talking to you so much. It might take a little bit to get an answer, but I always get an answer, and the answer makes it so that I don't feel like I'm being a bother when I have an issue.
And you aren't. We are all in this together, honey, and do you have any idea how many times you have actually helped explain my script to me? Ugh, I don't know how to deal with this. My husband, my children, my job search, my family, and I'm like, oh my God, me too. I feel less bad about 3 years ago when this happened to me. Like, oh my God, we're all the same thing. Misery might not actually love company, but similarity is a beautiful thing in this world, and it really doesn't for each of us. So please, yes, no one should feel bad about reaching out to me and stuff like that. I love it. And if I don't have the answers, it helps me look for things I don't know yet. And if I do have the answers, then at least the pain and shit that I've been through can serve a purpose. Either way, there's a win. So yeah, hit me up later. I'm around. And for all of those who hopefully see this message later, I'm still working out how this Zoom meeting, Facebook event, Messenger Live thing, how this all works. But if anybody gets a chance to check into this later, feel free to drop me a message and just say hi. I like knowing the people that I'm reaching out to. I'm going to sign off. I'll see you all soon. Bye.